news that Marinari stepped down. I remember when he was here with Notre Dame for a regional. Didn't he have, who was the pitcher he had then?
Jeff Samardzija.
Samardzija. And I did a story on him because I had not seen a 6'8" pitcher before.
Yeah.
But he was good.
And then, I saw Samardzija pitch in the big leagues, actually. Mick and I went to a game in Cincinnati that he started, one of the Kentucky baseball trips, probably 7 or 8 years ago. So it all comes around full circle.
All right, we're going to let you go to the caverns. But first, I want to get your take on what you think is going to happen with Florida in terms of the regionals. And have they played their way out of, I know that you've talked a lot about that 15, 16 seed. You don't want to be there and have to face Arkansas. Yeah,
or Vandy. I think you just want to try to eliminate getting to face one of those SEC teams again because you've already seen them. I don't think Florida would be scared going up to Nashville and facing Vandy, but you got to face Rocker, which I went to the game last night and Kumar got roughed up a little bit. He didn't look like the Kumar Rocker that we all know and have seen throughout the year. So I think Florida's done enough, especially if they beat Tennessee and they get to the finals. That should drop them to, maybe like a 12, a 13, a 14, somewhere in there. And that would be good because if you look at projections, then you're basically saying, okay, then that might be paired with Texas in a super regional. That could be Arizona in a super regional. Heck, that could even be Notre Dame in a super regional. So if you get paired up with one of those and not an SEC team, which I hope the committee would do, then I think that would be the ideal spot. Look, I don't know if you can see that, but it says I am here. There's the little cavern sign. So I made it, cool. Pat.
That's cool. That was your goal when you got out there, was to go to the caverns. I know that.
Yeah, not really. I just Googled something, just trying to find something to do. Been here a long time, but I missed you for sure.
Well, you and I will be on the air again Tuesday, and who knows what the schedule is going to look like, in those terms. So in terms of, because that's been part of the problem. Not only have you been gone, Jeff, but baseball's been on. Now today, softball's on. So, but that's. Well, I was just saying before. This is why we live here. We love this town because it's everybody. A lot of places. There's no sports going on right now.
Well, and you got Sam Riffus right now competing for a national title in tennis, and it's 1-to-1 there. So that's what's special about Florida for sure. You got all these teams that are always competing for championships. I mean, you got the top 10 public university, and now you have all the sports that make it tremendous as well. So. Well, I know Memorial Day you always go to the beach, so I got on Amazon last night and I ordered you a Speedo so you can sport at the beach on Monday. So make sure, hopefully it comes on time and you can enjoy it.
Well, it's also my daughter's birthday, so I will not be wearing a Speedo and embarrassing her. I can promise you that. Jeff, I can't wait to see you back in here in person, and we miss you, man. But,
all right.
You're doing a heck of a job out there, and love listening to on the broadcast.
2 more to go. Let's get it done. Thanks, Pat.
All right. Jeff Cardozo, voice of the Florida Gators baseball, coming to you from, I know he had a little bit of a bad connection there, but I think we made it work. But, coming to you from Hoover, although I don't know where those caverns are that he was at. I don't know if it was in Hoover, because believe me, there is. And I'm not trying to. One time I said something bad about Hoover. I called it in my column the town that sidewalks forgot, because there are no sidewalks in Hoover, Alabama. Like somebody told us about a great sports bar we needed to go to. They go, oh, you can walk there. It's only about quarter of a mile down the road. Well, yeah, but there's cars going by and you've got to walk on the dirt but there's not much in Hoover. It's just kind of there. It's got the high school, which is a big deal. It's really Birmingham, part of Birmingham. But and I love going there for the SEC media days, and we used to go there all the time. And I love going to the tournament. I've been probably 8 or 9 of them, not as many as Jeff. But I will say this. There ain't a whole lot else to do in Hoover, Alabama. He's been there forever. Of course, went to Arkansas first. And, you just got to figure out what you can do. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this baseball team. Let's just assume and I don't want to assume it, but they could lose to Tennessee tomorrow. And then obviously they would come home. And, okay, so you went 3-1 in the SEC tournament, but don't forget you lost the previous 4 games. And the other thing about it, though, is you don't know what the committee is doing. This is the least transparent. The smaller the sports, well, I don't want to say small, because it's the same way in softball, but they're very important and very important to us. But you don't know what the committees are doing, and and I'm going to just say this, and somebody may get mad at me about this too, but how lazy they're going to be. I can tell you, they may have already done the brackets right now. They may be sitting there, wherever they are, and I don't know if they're doing it all by Zoom or if they're meeting somewhere, whatever. They may have already done it and said, whatever happens, it's not that big a deal. It's a long season. Let's finish it up. Or you can say, well, Florida looks like the team that was preseason number 1, and they deserve the benefit of the doubt in some ways. But one thing that hurts Florida when it comes to getting their seed, and they'll be home for a regional. We know that, but super regional is not going to happen unless somebody gets beat ahead of them. But the one thing that hurts them is their non-conference schedule. And the reason they couldn't play as good a non-conference schedule as they wanted to was because nobody wanted to come to Florida. Florida was an at-risk state in a lot of people's minds in terms of traveling. So if you wanted to schedule, say, Louisville, who now actually is on the verge, I don't know if they're going to get in, but if you had wanted to schedule a Louisville, somebody like that, or a Texas or somebody like that, nobody wanted to come. So the only 2 teams that weren't from the state of Florida that were willing to come to Gainesville were Samford, which actually they played a 3-game series against Samford, and Samford's RPI is not bad. I think it's in the 50s, and Georgia State for a 1-game series. Everything else was in-state schools. And then another thing that hurt Florida, because you would think, well, you're playing the SEC, your RPI's got to be through the roof, but it's not that high. It's down there pretty good, considering how many games they won. But another thing that was a factor was, that they didn't want to travel either. They didn't want to really go anywhere. They didn't want to go to South Bend and play a series up there because of the issues that were going on at the same. Don't forget, when schedules are not made, now that we seem to be in better shape, schedules are made when we were not in good shape. It's a miracle that we got through football season and games were getting canceled and basketball games were getting canceled. That's when the schedules are being made, actually in the summer, some of it. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying, yeah, I agree with what Jeff said. I think Florida's played their way out of that bottom, that 15, 16 spot. If they can get to be a 12 or something, I think the matchup may be a little bit better. You don't want to be a 16 and have to face Arkansas. That team is probably going to win it all, to be honest with you. They look awfully good. They've looked just as good in the tournament as they have looked all season, and as good as they looked against Florida. They were just too good for Florida. And look, I don't think this team's probably not going to win a national championship. We know that. But, you just want to go as far as you can, have fun with it, and get guys experience. That's all you can worry about. All right, we got a lot of things to get to. One of those is to talk to a guy who could win a national championship. You never know. I mean, there's Oklahoma. Oklahoma and Arkansas, man, have been so dominant this year. But obviously a team that beat Oklahoma this year is Georgia, and that's who Florida plays later today, 5 o'clock. I'll be over there to watch it. And I tell you what we'll do. We'll take a break, and when we come back, Tim Walton will join us, and we'll have him on to talk to him about a lot of things, including those 2 plays that they made in the regional that were unbelievable. Still 2 of the greatest plays I've ever seen. So we got a lot to talk to him about. Also, we got to get to all of our other stuff. What we like to do. The Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. We got to get to 3 things presented by Hand Law. We got to get to Leonardo's Millhopper Quick Picks. We got to get to the this, that, and the other. We got to get to the Friday Football Fix. So we got a ton of stuff to talk about, as well as this interview coming up with Tim. Thank you for joining Another Dooley Noted Podcast and for being here, presented by Titan MRI and, of course, by ABC Fine Wine and Spirits. We'll be right back after this break.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. You can get your favorite alcoholic brands from ABC Fine Wine and Spirits delivered right to your door. ABC Delivers is available in Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and all of the Southeast Florida. Earn ABC points for coupons and free bottles through abcdelivers.com. It's powered by FedEx Same Day City, and you're going to love the price. Free with a $50 purchase for the first 7 miles. So wine, spirits, beer, and everything you need to celebrate. Get it delivered. Shop abcdelivers.com. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube, or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444. All right, it's a great pleasure now to be joined by Tim Walton, of course, the head softball coach at the University of Florida. Florida with a big game. Super Regionals start tonight. That's where I'll be heading. We've got a lot of stuff coming up afterwards. We talk about it all the time, the three things and this, that, and the other. But when I get done with all that, I get to go watch softball, and I'm excited about that. And Super Regionals being here is exciting too. And Tim, I know you're excited about it. I mean, it just seems like every year you're in the Supers and you play an SEC team.
Very, very true. We've got an SEC team here now. First time we had it, I believe, was 2015, and we've had one every year since. So we've become accustomed to the SEC tournament part 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do a whole lot about that because obviously, I think you guys had, I think you still have 7 teams alive, right?
Yeah, there's a bunch. Again, you'd like to play some unfamiliar teams, but everything logistically typically makes sense. I mean, the way if you have that many teams that are seeded, it just makes sense that you're going to have some matchups, and I don't think it's intentional or unintentional. I think it's just the nature of having a conference that has 12 or 13 teams in postseason play every single year.
All right, here's some trivia. Who's the last team that wasn't from the SEC that Florida played in the Super Regional?
Washington, 2014.
That's right. And I remember that because a lightning hit, and then Kelsey Stewart hit a walk-off. That was the end of the game, and the Heather Tarr was not happy about that, but we all got to go home, so that was great. That was a fun, even though there was a lot of weather issues that Super Regional was. But Super Regionals are hard. I mean, because you're playing the same team, and you played this team obviously 3 times. They handled you in the first game, but then you came back and scored 17 on them in the second game, which you don't see a lot, and then won the third game to win the series. That was a big series win for you early in the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I think that when you play, especially on the road, we've gone through, I believe we played Kentucky and beat Kentucky Friday, Saturday, and lost on Sunday. So we hadn't been tested like that, where we lost the first game of a series and you got an opportunity to come back the next day and lose the series right there, because whether it be, just emotions or fatigue, or you try too hard. So I thought we did a really good job. The response was really good in game 2. And that carried over into game 3, made some good adjustments to win the series on the Saturday, Sunday, Monday series in the SEC play.
You've talked a lot about putting together a pitching staff rather than just, relying on one pitcher. And we saw that with South Florida really had one pitcher who was really good. And you had obviously Kelly Barnhill and you had Stacey Nelson, and there was times when you did kind of rely on one pitcher. But I think you prefer having a staff like you have now, where you've got, Hightower and Lugo and Chronister and other pitchers that you can bring in.
Yeah, I think when you look at the makeup of a coach, coaches will always work really hard to be prepared. And when you have a pitching staff, you can easily second guess yourself, leave somebody in too long, take them out too early, pitch the wrong person. But the one thing that a pitching staff does for a team is options. If Georgia, for example, is really good at hitting, one of our pitchers, we've got 2-3 more options that we have to go to, as opposed to no more options and try to reinvent your pitcher in the middle of a game or the middle of the series. So I definitely feel like having a pitching staff is a lot harder to prepare for than it is to have one ace. Now, granted, we'd all love to have a first-team All-American, USA Player of the Year pitcher in your staff, but there's not a whole lot of those out there. I think that the key is that it makes preparing for a series a lot tougher when you have a lot more usable and valuable weapons in the circle.
Okay, now it was a long time ago that you played Georgia, and I know you've gone back and watched film of those games, but how much of that can you still use, or has Georgia changed that much since you played them last? And you guys have probably changed a little bit too.
Yeah, I think that we've been very consistent. I think overall our pitching has been very consistent. Our defense has been very consistent. So there's not a lot of things that I'd go back and want to change. I think that the one thing that we talked about, we talk all the time, is no matter what, we got to get the pitcher that we're facing has to be over the plate. We got to keep them over the plate. We can't let them expand the zone, whether it be in and out, whether it be up and down. We've got to do a good job of keeping the ball over the plate. Their pitcher is really good. She hits every spot. So she throws in, up and away, down and in, down and away. She has a really good changeup. She throws drop, rise, curve. She's got a variety. So that makes it really, really difficult on your hitters, especially in the middle of the game, to know that there's not a whole lot of predictability out of her. This was one of the least predictable pitchers we faced the entire season. Again, when you look at her statistics, the statistics don't match up to what Georgina Cork's statistics look like. In that she's given up more home runs, she's given up more runs. But I think overall, she beat Oklahoma, she beat the Florida Gators. She's pitched against. She's been in every game that she pitches in. So it's going to be a really tough, challenging game tonight. I mean, there's no question about it.
Yeah, I know that when you think back to that last time you played Georgia in a super regional, I'm sure you're able to flush that eventually, but that was a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the key was the first night. They knocked around Delaney Gorley, better than anybody had all season long. And then obviously Alicia Ocasio pitched a really, really good 6 2/3 innings, and pitched well. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that team and that game has nothing to do with this team and this game. The head coach and assistant coach are still there for them. I'm still here for us. But I think at the end of the day, again, that was a great moment for Georgia softball and not one for us. But we've been to the World Series and won the SEC since then. So I think we've been able to rebound just fine.
Yeah, I'm wondering about this team and how you feel about it, because you've had teams that had more talent, and you've had teams that had All-Americans and everything. But I almost get the feeling that you really love watching this team. And I know you've loved every team you've coached, but the way this team fights back and never out of a game, what we saw in that the last SEC series was amazing. I mean, it's got to make you feel good as a coach to see the way they keep fighting, and they know that you need 21 outs to win or lose a game.
You know, we've had plenty of dramatic hits in our program's history. Obviously, Allie Gardner, Jordan Matthews, Kirsty Merritt. There's been some that have had some unbelievable game-ending hits and walk-off wins. The things that, as coaches that we get caught up with, and maybe it's all, society in general, we start comparing teams to other teams. Mm-hmm. And, you start comparing players to other players. And it's easy to do because you fall in love with certain styles of play or certain players, and it's easy to do. And so when you come into the season and you ask about the team and you say, okay, well, where are you at with this, that, or the other? And I think that this team on paper coming into the season, there may not have been a lot of fall in love with moments of players on this team that have never really proven themselves in certain categories. And the thing that I love about this team is that they love each other, that they work well, they appreciate each other, they genuinely root for each other. And I think that when you have that, that's something you can't measure as a coach. And so it's just like heart. You can't measure heart. You can't measure toughness. You can't measure passion. And I think that this team has passion. They genuinely enjoy playing softball together, and they don't want to see a game end. And I think that's the one thing that you see about the fight back mentality is they're continuing to doing whatever they can do for each other, so that, again, whether it's Jamie Hoover with a walk-off moment, whether it's Hannah Adams, whether it's Charlotte Eccles, Julia Cottrell, Kendall, it doesn't matter the name. I think that all the players on the roster really work hard for each other and genuinely care about that person's moment. And we've had a bunch of them in the last 2 seasons now where it hasn't been just Stacey Nelson or it hasn't been just Kelsey Stewart. We've had a lot of players, get their picture on the, whether it's social media or on the TV screen out there that have had really, really special moments.
All we talk about in college football and college basketball is the transfer portal. That's all we talk about. And you guys have made it work for you too. Do you think this is something that is going to become a bigger factor in college softball?
Well, I looked at the transfer portal list, here recently, and then the pages on that are thick. And so I think it is. And again, every kid who transfers for a reason, and there's always a reason that they transfer, and you just have to figure out how to sort through that as a coach, an institution, and as a player, and as a parent, as a family. And it's easy to be at school A and want to go to school B. The grass is always greener on the other side, and it's easy to want to go from school A to play for the Florida Gators or any SEC team or any Power 5 team for that matter. I think at the end of the day that in our sport, it's going to be a huge factor because we're a percentage sport. We're a sport that you can, if you decide you want to come to Florida, you can come to Florida for 5%. You can come to Florida for 10%. You can come to Florida for books. Where in the sports like football and basketball, if you commit to a kid, they're coming for a full scholarship. So I think that in some cases, the rich always get richer within the transfer portal and some of those other things. But I do think that in my circumstances, and Stephanie Toft was probably one of the best transfers that I have ever had. At the time, especially, I hadn't had a whole lot of transfers in my career. But I found that in the transfer portal, when you start building a relationship with those kids, that they know this is their last shot to play, and they're going to conform to whatever's going to make them happy, but also going to conform to they want to win. And you see a different level of focus, I have anyway, with those kids that have transferred to be a Gator. They really want it bad because either something was missing previous, or they understand that when they're coming to be a Florida Gator, the expectations are a lot different than anything that they've ever had to deal with before. And so I've enjoyed it. I definitely think that it's a game-changing trend that's going to happen if you don't have somebody on your staff that manages the transfer portal, at least understanding who's in it, that you're already behind.
Yeah, it's just like with Charlotte Eccles. I mean, everybody's got, whoever you bring in on the transfer portal has to understand your culture. You're not changing your culture to adapt to somebody coming in on the transfer portal. If they don't fit into it, it's not going to work. No,
you're 100% accurate. And I think that's what, again, there's there's going to get somebody in the transfer portal because you have a need. Hey, we got a need. We need to get this. But then the next step is the culture, and it's who they are, who you are, and then what is it going to do to your team, bringing in more competition that they weren't expecting at those positions. And I would tell you right now that anytime I've gone into the transfer portal, it's been a need. It's been somebody that we have to have in our program. And I think that, again, the few that we've gotten out of there, it's been really good for me, because you almost sense that you're not getting a freshman most of the time. You're getting somebody who's already gone through the process of living away from home. So they're a little bit more mature in ways, but they really come in and almost change the energy level right away. I mean, that's every one of the kids we've had. They've changed the practices. They've changed the energy. Kendall Lindemann really changed the intent that went into our batting practice, because she's very intentful and she's very, very focused. And so it's been a fun process for me. And we've also, on the other side, we've lost kids to the transfer portal, whether it be that they wanted to go in there or we encouraged them to go in there. But we had a kid leave at the semester that, I had a really long conversation with her about, I don't know who has interest in you, but just get into the portal. And if it doesn't work out, you can come back. And the next thing you know, she's playing, starting, and I see the smile on her face, and I go, hey, there's a win for her and her family. Yeah, she's not a Gator, which, again, I wish she was, but at the end of the day, I think that the transfer portal can be an opportunity for someone to go in and be happy too. And it's not always, everybody thinks, it's negative, negative, negative. I don't think that every situation in the transfer portal is negative. I think it's really about opportunity and what other opportunities are out there for kids to again, we only get 4 years to play softball. And do you want to waste 3 of them at a school where you're not playing? I don't know if that's the case for everybody. So,
all right, save the toughest question for last. You ready for this? What play was a better play? The double play on Friday last weekend, or the play Hannah Adams made to preserve the no-hitter?
Well, they're both totally different. I would want to say this: the base hit up the middle, throw to the plate. I will call that routine, because we practice it every other day. Mm-hmm. The fact that Cheyenne delivered the ball that well off the fastest runner on their team. Julia had a great catch, a tag, a show of the umpire, a spin, a throw. The next part is the stuff that we don't work on. We always work on finish the play, look to the next play, blah, 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 blah. But to have that moment and that energy and the crowd roar, and then her ability to look up and go, I mean, that's probably one of the most heads-up softball play you'll ever see. But I'm going to have to go with the play that Hannah Adams made. I think was the single most special play I've ever seen in my entire career. Our shortstop dove for the ball. Why is the second baseman there? Why is she in that position? And it's a no-hitter, and she throws off her back leg falling down, and then Kendall Lindemann makes obviously a great stretch and puts the foot back on. But that was by far one of, in the circumstance, a no-hitter in a regional finals, which has never been done in our program's history until now. I'm going to give the nod to Hannah Adams, but I think Julia Catro's play was one of the most heads-up plays I've ever seen in my coaching career.
That ball starts bouncing up the middle on Sunday, and I'm like, oh, there goes the no-hitter. And I went, wait, what? How did she get to that ball? I mean, did you know
the first batter of the game did the same thing, and she caught it in a different spot? I mean, I'm with you. I don't know. First of all, how many times have you seen a middle infielder make that play and then try to get the lead runner at second because they know they can't throw the runner out at first? So I would have thrown it to second, and the girl would have been safe, and everybody would have been mad at me. But Hannah's better than me, so I was really proud of her for being able to know her ability. Now she's got a cannon of an arm, which doesn't come in a lot of second base packages. She's got a really good throwing arm, and that obviously she needed every bit of it.
Did you know she was this good when you recruited her defensively? I mean, obviously she's hit too.
I knew she was a really, really, really good shortstop. She was a defensive specialist. That's really what she was. She got a hit every now and again, but no, she was really good, a really good shortstop, with a really good throwing arm, a really good glove. I just didn't know she was going to be the best second baseman in the entire country, because she's unbelievable. And every day of practice, like, I don't hold my breath on anything. She just makes everything look really dang easy. And I just feel sorry for all the other kids that come after her because, Hannah wouldn't have done that. Hannah wouldn't have done that. And I think ultimately I have to bite my tongue sometimes because Hannah does things that nobody can really do routinely like she does.
Yeah, but you might have said that about Kelsey Stewart, too. You might have said, I feel bad for anybody who's coming in and playing second base after her.
Yeah.
She's throwing balls behind her back and everything.
Yeah. I tell you what, and that's the one thing that I love about practicing is that you find out what kind of limits kids have, and you find out what kind of limits they don't have. And Hannah doesn't have very many limitations. She can do anything. She practices behind the back. She throws off one leg. She can slide and make a great play. She can do a lot of fun things. But having great players who have done great things, you constantly try how do you top that play? What do you do next? What can we do in practice to try to improve some of those special plays?
Tim, good luck today at 5 o'clock. Of course, the Gators in Georgia, and then of course you got a game at noon on Saturday and Sunday possibly. We'll see. And good luck. I'll be out there rooting for you. Now that I'm a fan, I'm allowed to be a fan. I had my Gator softball shirt on Sunday, and I'll have it on again tonight. So I'm allowed to be a fan. It's kind of fun. It's freeing, very freeing.
I love it. I tell you, our first trip to the World Series when you went with us and did the interviews and talked about the jazz music down there on the Riverwalk, and I knew you were a fan then, even though you were writing stuff and you're very critical of our performances, which I read it and I said, man, he's saying what I'm thinking. So, except for you use a lot more eloquent words in there that have a lot more meaning. So I appreciate all you do for us too, Pat. Thank you very much, man. Go Gators.
Tim, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. We'll be back. We've got to do all of our good stuff that we like to do here, this, that, and the other, 3 things. We've got to do the Adams Ribco Gator of the Weekend, or Gator of the Week, and we'll have some to choose from. There's certainly no question about that. And we've got to get our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks as well. And that'll be kind of fun to do. We did get a couple of qualifiers from the Florida-Kentucky game. So we'll be back with all that and more here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast. You can get your favorite alcoholic brands from ABC Fine Wine and Spirits delivered right to your door. ABC Delivers is available in Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and all of the Southeast Florida. Earn ABC points for coupons and free bottles through abcdelivers.com. It's powered by FedEx Same Day City, and you're going to love the price. Free with a $50 purchase for the first 7 miles. So wine, spirits, beer, and everything you need to celebrate. Get it delivered. Shop abcdelivers.com. This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
All right, welcome back to Another Dooley Noted Podcast. We got a lot to get to here to wrap it up, and want to thank Jeff Cardozo and Tim Walton for joining us here. Again, no show Monday. It is Memorial Day, and it's also my daughter's birthday, as I mentioned Happy 20th birthday, Kelsey. And then Friday we'll be back, and our plan is to have Cooper Carlisle in studio, and then also hopefully get Brian Shelton on, the head tennis coach. Now, it is time, and I've been saving this even though I've known it for a little while. It is time for Three Things, presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. We'll start off with the number one thing we're going to do. Florida has a new national champ. How about that? Sam Riffis was down. In fact, I was watching his scores, and all of a sudden I was excited about him playing for the national championship down in Orlando. In the first set, he's down 5-0. And I'm like, golly, this guy is, I mean, obviously, if you're playing for the national championship, you're going to be a pretty good player. I wrote his name down somewhere, but I can't remember it. Rodriguez from South Carolina. So it was an all-SEC final. Riffis had beaten the number one seed the day before. And I know a lot of people went down from UF to watch this, and a lot of people were there, and they had a huge crowd. All of them excited. So he's down 5-0. He ends up losing that set 6-3, comes back and wins the next one 6-1, and wins the final set 6-4. So party at Sam Riffis' house tonight, right? Let's do that. I'm just kidding, of course. I don't even know where he lives. But proud of him, and proud of the Gators, and proud of Brian Shelton. And what a year for these guys. I mean, they have had, when you start a season, you go, you know what? If we could just win the national title and have the individual championship, that's kind of the things that Andy Brandy used to do. Well, I remember that one year they had Holly Chaffee and Sean Stafford played for the final, both Gators, and they won the national. I don't think they won the national title that year, though. They won a bunch of them, obviously. But Florida has a individual national champion. The last one was Jeff Morrison 22 years ago. So it's been a while. But what Brian Shelton has done to build that program up is unbelievable, because, they were struggling a little bit. They had some pockets of success here and there, but national champs, man, and the individual national champ. Really happy for him. So that was number one. Number two was that the Jaguars are in their OTAs, and they had all 90 guys show up. Now, there's always a holdout. Somebody doesn't want to be there. Somebody's working on a contract. Somebody says, I don't need to go to OTAs. But they got all 90 guys there, and that says a lot about Urban and about his commitment to you understanding you have to be committed. Of course, the only one anybody seems to care about is Tim Tebow. I'm watching TV today, and all they're talking about is Tebow. Apparently caught 2 touchdown passes. He's not even wearing a helmet. No, they're in shirts. I mean, jerseys and shorts. I'm sure and they're showing him working on blocking drills. And they're, Stephen A. Smith's talking about white privilege and how no black man would ever get a chance to do that. I mean, it's just crazy, to be honest with you, how much attention he's still getting, even though that story happened, and we all kind of went, okay, he's on there. That doesn't surprise me. Urban wants to help. He's his neighbor. He wants to help his neighbor out, the guy who helped him win 2 national titles. 90 guys show up. Only 53 get to make the team. And I don't know what's going to happen there, but we're all rooting for Tim, and we're tired of hearing all this negative talk about it. It's just, I know I talked about this earlier, but I'm fed up with it. And I think, look, I've never been a Jaguars fan, and there are a lot of reasons, and I could do an entire show on why, but I'm not going to get into it now. I'm a Jaguars fan now. I'm rooting for him, and I'm rooting for Urban to do well. And if they don't keep Tim around, it's because he's not among the 53 best players. He's not going to help. But I think maybe he will. Could be another Taysom Hill type guy. We'll see how that works out. And finally, number 3 on 3 Things presented by Hand Law. Naomi Osaka decided she is not doing any press conferences at the French Open. And, I get where some people feel, and she feels like she doesn't need negative questions to affect herself. whether it's a mental health issue or whether it's I just don't want anything negative coming into my life because I want to try to win this thing. And I get how she may feel that way, but look, you're trying to help your sport. You're trying to present your sport in a good manner, and all that's happening this week is people are saying whether she's right, whether she's wrong. Some people have said this is ridiculous. Some people have been really mad about it. I'm not that mad about it. You know, I know the tennis media can be tough, but you know who else can? The football media, the basketball media. It bothered me when Marshawn Lynch would talk to the media. That really bothered me. I thought it was ridiculous. You're at a Super Bowl, you have to talk to the media or you get fined. And so he would not want to talk to them, so he'd answer every question yes or no. We're just trying to do our jobs. And look, I know there are bad media people, okay? But please do not take all the media and lump them into one giant thing. Everybody's different. We're like every other profession. There are bad lawyers, there are bad doctors, there are bad airplane pilots. There are bad, you know, guys that put your roof on. There's bad golf pros. There's bad everything. And there are people that you don't like that are irritating. But we're not the media. And again, I'm not really in the media anymore, but yet I seem to be. Somehow found myself back in the media all the time. But anyway, I think she's making a mistake. But she doesn't really. She clearly cares about herself more than she does the sport she's playing, which has allowed her to have this great career. And now it gives us a villain. So maybe that'll be a good thing. All right, that is 3 things presented by Hand Law. We appreciate them for being involved. Let's go to the Leonardos at Millhopper quick picks. We had 3 people qualify last week. It wasn't even last week, was it? It was, what's today? Friday, Monday. Well, we had 3 people qualify. When Florida beat Kentucky, they picked Florida to beat Kentucky. And so this week it's another very simple one. We've tried to keep this simple. And all you have to do is email it in to me at patrickdooley54. 54 is how old I am, at gmail.com. No, I'm just kidding. I wish I was 54 again. All right, so it's very simple. This coming weekend, tomorrow and Sunday. Florida may not have a Sunday game. They may have a Sunday game. How many games does Florida win this weekend? There's only 3 answers possible here, okay? 0, 1, and 2. That's it. They could win 2, they're SEC champs. They win 1, they play for the championship, but then they would obviously lose it, and they would probably play Arkansas. And if they don't win this game Saturday, the answer is 0. So it should be pretty simple. Just give me a number. Again, it's like the Celebrity Jeopardy. Write down a number. 3. All right, so that is our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. We appreciate Kyle and everything he has done for us over there. All right, next up, the Adams Rib Co. Gator of the Week. And I talked about laughing about something that happened with Jack Leftwich. But the hardest I laughed this weekend was Hunter Barco pitching a great game, 7 innings. So they run ruled Mississippi State, which I always like to see. But he didn't know it. He didn't know there was a run rule. So he comes off and he's ready for the 8th inning. He's wondering if he's going to be back in for the 8th inning. And the players are coming out to celebrate. He's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" He's so locked in. He had no idea. And he's like, what? It's a run rule? So Hunter Barco, not only for pitching a great game and really establishing, that Florida was here for a long time, but not knowing the run rule, locked in, man. You got to love that. So he is our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot to choose from for the weekend. We may already have. See, I can't make Sam Riffis the Gator of the Week. I'll have to make it the Gator of the Weekend, and that probably will be that, just to tell you. But that's going to be a long way away because we're not doing a show till Friday. But anyway, I'll try to remember that. Okay, but he still could win it. All right, let's time now for my favorite segment, of course, This, That, and the Other. It is brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill. where I was last night. Had a nice, very lovely salad there. And I think I'll be there Tuesday. I think Chris Harry's guest bartending there. So I'll probably have to go to that. And then Dark Shackow Insurance. Great, they do a great job there, obviously. And Ironwood Golf Course. Jeff may have to get directions to get to the Ironwood Golf Course because he hasn't been there so long. Obviously, being on the road with the Gators. All right. So this was last year. We had the bubble. There were no fans for the NBA. You had the bubble. It worked, I thought. You know, it was fun to watch the NBA playoffs because that was all we had, really. We had a little bit of golf every once in a while, but that was it in the summer. So, but no fans, and it felt kind of weird. And a lot of people didn't watch because there were no fans, and they like to get into that. Obviously, that is that fans are back. And some places are packing the stadiums. And so, great. Full crowds. This is what we wanted to be back. And the other, maybe we don't need fans because in the NBA, people have just lost their minds with what they're doing. First, it was Russell Westbrook. I don't know if these came in order, but Russell Westbrook having a fan throw a whole thing of popcorn on him as he came off after an injury. And look, it didn't hurt, okay? I get that. But you don't need to be doing that. You don't have, like people say, I have a right to boo. I bought a ticket. You do have a right to boo. You don't have a right to curse, and you don't have a right to throw anything, and you don't have a right to do anything that you shouldn't do anyway. You can boo all you want. You can scream and yell at the coach. But you don't have a right to throw a thing of popcorn on a guy. Then you also had the situation where Trae Young got spit on by a Knicks fan, and then finally, Ja Morant had several fans make racial comments towards his dad about him. And now, for the most part, I think all those fans have been booted and they won't be allowed back. They should be booted forever. You throw something at a player. I don't care if it's popcorn, okay? You should never be allowed into an NBA arena again, or any arena. Don't come here either. Don't come to any Florida games. Maybe we don't need fans as much as we thought we did. But again, it's just like I talked about with media. There's always some bad eggs. There's bad eggs here too. So get those guys out. Let the people who are good people watch the game and just cheer and yell and scream. So that is this, that, and the other, brought to you by Ballyhoo, Dark Shackow Insurance, and Ironwood Golf Course. One more thing to do before we get out of here, and I head over to watch a little softball. The Friday Football Fix, brought to you, of course, by the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Garrett McGee is going to be their speaker on June 8th. He's the new quarterbacks coach. I can't wait to hear what he's got to say. He's been a head coach. Obviously, he was at UAB. He's been around the SEC. I'm really looking forward to meeting him, and you should too. You should get over there. You should join the Gainesville Quarterback Club. It's a place that's very near and dear to my heart. I really love those guys over there. And I like what they're doing. And so that's June 8th that Garrett McGee will be speaking. The Friday Football Fix is this. We now know the times of Florida's first 3 games. No surprises here, but it's interesting in a way. The Florida Atlantic game, the home opener, will be at 7:30. And I'm going to be curious to see what kind of crowd that is because, you know, again, there are a lot of people who, even though we're going to allow full stadiums again, are still going to go, you know, I remember why I didn't like to go to 7:30 games. Because when the game's over, I still got a long way to get home and all that and fight crowds. So it'll be curious to see. And again, it's Florida Atlantic. It's not a big-time opponent. It's why everybody's scheduling bigger-time opponents. USF game at noon, okay, you know, it's going to be hot. We know that. But it'll be interesting to see how that works out. And, of course, not a surprise, the Alabama game, the third game of the year at 3:30. You knew CBS was going to jump all over that. Florida and Alabama, the two played for the SEC championship last year. And we already knew Georgia was 3:30 because Georgia at 3:30, that's set in stone because they tried to play it at night one time and there was a bunch of problems. And I think someone actually died in the aftermath of that. So that was the end of that. 3:30 always for Florida, Georgia. It's interesting because you're going to hear people complain about when they're being asked to play. Joe Castiglione, the Oklahoma AD, is really upset that because, look, it's TV's world. We're all just living in it. Fox says, hey, you know what we'd like? The Nebraska-Oklahoma game, which is being renewed September 18th, we'd like that game to be our kickoff, okay? Well, their kickoff is at noon, which is 11 their time in Nebraska and Oklahoma. I think I'm right about that, but it's definitely at 11 o'clock is when the game's being played. So he's really upset. He says, we really tried to push back on this and argue with them and get them to adjust this, and they just wouldn't do it. They just, because you know why? They're paying you a lot of money. They're paying you all this money, and they'll tell you when your damn game is going to be, okay? It's the way it is, man. It's just the way it is. But anyway, that's our Friday football fix, brought to you by the Gainesville Quarterback Club. And I think that does it. Did we get it all done there, Evan? We got it all done. It only took an hour and 2 minutes, so that's not too bad. We'll be back again on Friday with a new show. Monday, Memorial Day, Kelsey's birthday. Friday, we're back with a new show. Hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you stay with us. If you are interested in being a sponsor for anything that we do, please give me a call. Pretty easy to get a hold of me, 317-3444. In fact, I think we're looking for a new title sponsor, so give us a call. Titan MRI is not going away, I know that. All right, so we'll be back on Friday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I'm deep, I'm way back, and I am going to watch softball.